You fucked it up! Like, how do you do this? How do you, I can't even say the words, I can't even speak it, it's just, how do you take so many obviously good things? You have a fantastic design aesthetic, you have wonderful costume designs, you have, admittedly, a cheesy kind of hand blaster, but hey, it has a coolness factor, even though it gets a bit silly once you actually put the transformation trinket on it, as it's not exactly, it sticks out, obviously. You got a nice multi-changing sword that I really want because it looks great, even though it'll be too small. The toy version will be too small for my hands. You have excellent mecha design. You have excellent monster aesthetic, even though it's obviously just masked guys in a tracksuit. It works with its aesthetic design. The monsters look good. And then you have your main character speak, and he's worse than Takaharu! How do you make a character worse than Takaharu? It's just... Gah! This is like... if you watch my show regularly, you know I have a thing against annoying, asinine idiots. What's the full thing I actually called them? Insufferable, arrogant, idiotic asshole. Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. And you concentrate everything that makes a terrible Sentai protagonist into a person after you already made the Sentai protagonist that personifies everything wrong with them. How do you do this? How do you not realize what is wrong with your own goddamn show? Obviously, I did not like Kyuranger's premiere, and part of it was the damn basing. Toei shoved the story for at least 3 episodes, maybe 2 if they're full up on action, into themselves, and didn't give any time for any of the plot and storylines present within them. I should actually be bringing up Kyuranger's page, simply so I have the list of characters up. The Tokusatsu Network article is good enough. Because first, he introduced that the universe is under attack by, the Space Mafia. Let's just call them that because I'm blanking on the name. It's the first episode. Of course I'm going to get the names wrong. Actually, that's probably more important for me to actually pull up the wiki page because I'll be going off on them. But yeah, this is the far future, and the Space Shogunate Jark matter. I'm getting flashbacks to Black RX. Actually, it wouldn't be surprising if that's exactly what they're referencing. Has taken over 88 constellations in the Milky Way galaxy. Constellations are not solar systems. Constellations are arrangements of stars, and stars change relative positions on where you view them depending on which planet it is. Constellations are only a relevant roadmap for a destination with regards to a given central planet. They won't be seen the same way on any other planet. They are arbitrary to a specific spatial location. Stargate. SG-1. First fucking episode. Address this. It's like, this is my niche, and they are so fucking uninformed about the niche, the entire niche they're doing this in. It's like, this is worse than Megaforce in their stupidity right here with this. It's like, this is my problem with the show. It's literally from the opening scenes of the series with their Okay, but they established that there is a space prophecy, because there are prophecies in space. That 9 soldiers with the powers of the Kyutama, who the hell knows how they knew about these artifacts if they were legendary mystic items prophesized to exist, and of course they come out of nowhere, because of course they do. But still, 9 soldiers that will resist this space mafia, space shogunate, except if the Space Shogun is only a recent thing, why would it be prophesized to come and exist like that? Hell, how do even all of these Kyutama relate to each other? There are so many questions that they could have gotten to answering, and there's nothing here. There's literally nothing here to build on. Or like, okay, there is stuff to build on, but they're not grounding any of it to begin establishing things. It's just action scene, action scene, action scene, action scene. What is wrong with you? You can't build a story on action scenes. I think we established that with Ninja already. Or did you forget, again, record-breaking worst ratings and record-breaking sales failures? Ah! Standpoint. Good points to this episode. The beginning Rangers. Oshi Black, Chameleon Green, and Kajiki Yellow. I like that they actually started with someone other than the protagonist to start off the adventure and to emphasize that even though these people are highly competent, they're experienced warriors, the three of them are not enough. And I really, really wish this episode would have focused on them more. And their competence at this, as they are quickly overwhelmed trying to save people. And it doesn't immediately seem like it's knocking their competence, but it comes, oh trust me, it comes. But just that the forces they're facing are too vast, and that's not unreasonable. These are forces in number of which that would challenge even a standard Zangief platoon from Gokaiger, and the Gokaiger usually only had the upper hand due to their own stylistic choices, just putting them at odds with standard military procedure on top of having the backup of the Ranger keys. Remember, the Gokaiger are only the strongest Ranger team because of their varying ability to call upon all the other Rangers. They're no stronger than any of the others with just their own powers. So, this is perfectly reasonable. And then he shows up! And in one swoop, he's on a space bike, in space, in just a stupid little space suit that would not even protect you from leaving the atmosphere. This, like I said, this is my niche. This is my, I'm a big sci-fi fan. This is just pushing every button of irritants here, and this should be a series I love, because they're actually breaking from the Sentai mold for the first time in 40 years, and actually having a team that is not focused on saving the Earth. They're instead doing the Power Rangers in space thing. They're saving the universe away from the Earth. They're saving the universe out in space. They're not on Earth. They're nowhere near Earth, and I never expected Sentai to do this, and they're fucking it up so badly. But yes, our protagonist, Lucky, because he is lucky, this is his sole character trait that isn't just yelling and being an imbecile. Calm down. He literally drops out of the sky when his bike breaks down in space. Or I should say, he knocks into something, which sends him spiraling onto a planet that is flat. That is flat. I want to use Linkara's Of Course, but don't you know anything about science clip, but I don't do clip gags in these vlogs. This is just me. Okay, if you regularly watch these videos, you know that, but this is just me. This is just me entirely raw, and I feel like I need referential clips to accent how stupid this is. And anyways, Lucky falls out of the sky, and in one fell swoop, takes out a platoon, or I shouldn't say takes out the entire platoon. He cuts a path straight through a platoon to the 3 active Kyurangers support mechs. Except, and here's where the really stupid thing comes in, Later in the episode, they are shown that they can summon them to them using their Seiza blasters, the transformation wrist grip of theirs, at any time. There is literally no narrative reason that they would be for them to be trapped and then require this guy's out of nowhere assistance that was made surely through luck. And it's like, he's ridiculously proud of it. He's oblivious that he even did this. And then he sees these other people fighting this valiant fight, and he said, I'm gonna join them! And knocks out 2 people that were about to kill him without even realizing they were there. This kid, this idiot, is a walking Deus Ex Machina machine. Like, there are over a dozen in just this episode. This is not exaggeration. This is... I'm under-exaggerating how excused this is by the story, and... Oh my... This is writing 101! You don't do this! So Lucky, for some reason, is brought aboard the ship so his space bike can be fixed. Why? I mean, it's not like he's any different than any other civilian the Kyuranger were saving. And hell, where did they evac them? They were heading for their mechs, but their mechs are one-seaters. Hell, they're some of the smallest mechs on record, as they're just individually piloted ships. You know how big they are? They are about the size of the Time Ranger's jet fighter, which 5 of them would stand on, that would turn into the handgun, the smaller than my Gokai pistol handgun that they would use in Time Ranger. That is how small this mech is. These mechs are. It's like, it's tiny. It's like, admittedly, they've been shrinking the size of the mechs for a while, and I've seen from preview images they're going to get bigger and bulkier, but, you know, there's this whole scaling issue that I feel doesn't work well with how they're trying to stylize the show, and you know what, it's not going to matter much, I guess, but it still irks me because they're going to eventually end up using the old stock city sets they always use and have been using for about a decade now, because they've gotten lazy with doing the giant monster and mech fights, and especially since Toei's been recycling all of them, they don't have the money to rescale the size of these things. So by explicitly showcasing this, there's going to be all types of scaling issues not a single person is going to be caring about. That is exceedingly irksome. Where was I going with this? So yeah, Lucky's brought on board, and we meet the 4th Kyuranger, but she doesn't have her Q-Tama that allows her to transform yet. Raptor 283, or Raptor Wing, Raptor Tsubasa, which is voiced by Mao Ichi. No, it's Ichi something. Gokai Yellow. She's voiced by Gokai Yellow. And there's something odd about her portrayal. I mean, it doesn't sound how I've heard her sound in anime before. She was in Space Police, Luluko. I still have to watch all of that series. I'm getting off on a tangent. So she sounds odd. But she sounds appropriate for the character, since she's a robot girl, and she looks just adorbs. And Hani continues to be amused by Lucky's idiotic antics, and it's obvious she's being condescending, as she should, but in context, by the idiot standards, it's appearing to encourage or enable his antics, so he's even more boisterous, when that is the exact wrong thing to be showcasing in such a situation. The universe is being destroyed. for the conquest efforts of somebody, and you couldn't be happier. You're an idiot. You are... Ugh. But yeah, he hears about their mission, instantly wants to help. He doesn't have the transformation trinket. He claims he does, but no, he just steals one of their devices and goes off to race to find one. And what should happen? But he shows up on the next planet, in the next system, in another... How are you... Do you realize how big space is? And you're going at interstellar velocity speeds. Hell, if you went any faster, your bike crashing should have fucking killed you. His bike crashes on a jungle planet where he encounters Garo. G-A-R-O-U. Yeah, Garo. It's obvious because Koei is trying to bank into the success of the Garo franchise, which has been earning more money than them lately. Per series they produce. I wonder why. So yeah, immediately runs into Garo and immediately pisses him off. And this is, of course, going back to the red Oni, blue Oni thing, where the red guy has a certain type of personality that pisses immediately off the blue guy, the blue one in the relationship, of course, because to continue the whole red versus blue argument. Except they have the exact same personality, the exact same boisterous nature, and I shouldn't say exact same because, you know, it's the angry feral guy, but the reason the red-blue thing usually works is one's an idiot, the other's the smart guy. That is usually how this is done. You can't get that kind of antagonistic relationship between them, between an idiot and another idiot. Like, I'm not trying to sell Garo short here, because he actually seems like an interesting character, with his backstory of having his world murdered. And that is all we get about his backstory, because the episode is moving too damn fast. This is not even 10 minutes in. Okay, that's exaggeration. This is about 10 minutes in. I'm actually looking at the timer right now. Yeah, not even 10 minutes in, and they've already rushed past a large battle, introducing the absolute basics, him going off and getting all the set pieces in, and now we're fighting a blue wolf man, and he doesn't even have... This isn't actually that counter. That's even before he gives his fucking backstory. This should be episode 2, after Lucky had his introduction and found a reason, aside from being utterly blind to what has been going on for years in the galaxy. Now, it has to be years, because they've conquered most of the galaxy. That's not exactly something you missed hearing about unless you've stuck your head in the sand. I'm so... Moving on. Dark Matter's main force then comes to the planet after Garo is... I keep wanting to call him Garu because that's his verbal tick. He keeps saying Garu. But yeah, after they get his backstory out of him about why he's angry at Lucky, deservedly so, because... where was I going with this? They pretty much... Lucky pretty much callously dismisses... pretty damn recklessly and callously dismisses Garo's pain simply to get him to fight with them, and it doesn't work from what's presented because the episode is moving too damn fast for anything substantial. They just punch it out a bit and say that, I'm strong enough to face these people. No, you're not. You haven't even gotten your powers yet. You should have died several fucking times by now if you didn't have your insane luck powers. But I digress. He says that if Lucky is strong enough to face them, he's really not, then Garo should have no problem, except it's not about physical strength, it's having the weight of everyone you knew and loved dead because you fought and lost. He has this pain that is preventing him from doing something so meaningful, and that depression is a barrier. It is preventing him from even thinking about fighting back. It has broken him, and this episode is addressing none of that because they don't give time to it. And I'm literally reading into the character from the assumption of other series that have done this exact arc, because Kyuranger's first episode has no time for any of it. How do you fuck this up? So anyways, Dark Matter appears again, and because they rightfully think of Lucky as an annoying imbecile, because he is, they decide to drag him up into space without his helmet. He should be dead. Like, the second they actually got him up into space, because you know the thing about traveling to space? You go up several miles with increasingly empty and airless environments, so that if you were to take him up, even taking 10 seconds to get out of the atmosphere, you would be dead before you even reached space. Because there is that little air in the higher levels of the atmosphere. Why is he not dead? And you know what saves him? Wishing he had the transformation trinket. He is then hit by a meteor. Yes, I'm not kidding. As he gets the transformation trinket and rides it back down as if he was Laharl from Disgaea. And you know, it's cool when Laharl does it, because it's tongue-in-cheek, it's something he created out of his own magic, and he is a magical demon, who obviously has magic demon production against going into space. That, as said, this guy is kind of tongue-in-cheek about all this, so you don't actually have to worry about real-world logic sinking in, but usually Sentai are not that removed, despite it being a superhero series. If you go into space without a helmet, usually you are supposed to die. And this is not like the stupid Power Rangers incidents of people traveling into space unmorphed, or, you know, as part of a stupid spaceship thing where you assume there's a field that protects them from the rigors of space, because that is something that would make sense. No, he's entirely unprotected and is even frosting over, which is a sign that the body moisture is being released due to the pressure change, and it's frosting over because there's no air pressure to prevent sublimation of it, and all that water is coming from blood vessels, cellular breakdown, all that jazz. So he's literally shown dying in the scene where he grabs his Kyutama, and then he rides it back down on top of a meteor with him transforming. I'll admit, the dropping down on meteors thing, that's actually kind of cool, but here's the thing. With them being that small, they should also be burning up in the atmosphere long before they come down to hit Dark Matter, because there's a lot of space debris that no one ever sees hit anything, because, like, something the size of an actual rock, if it hit the atmosphere, it would melt into nothing. Literally nothing. We have space junk up in space that never actually hits the ground when it comes down, because it is so small pieces that it just burns away, melts all, and is scattered into the atmosphere. It drops down as little small flakes no one takes notice of, as dust in the wind. And that's part of the problem with Lucky's little thing. It's a awesome as hell visual, but it makes no goddamn sense. Like, none. And of course, because Lucky instantly knows how to do all the things with his Kyuranger equipment, not because of onboard instruction manuals or the others showing him what to do, but no, his luck powers. His luck powers give him the multi-transforming weapon, allowing the others to also show off all of theirs, and then to show off his massively giant mech that he has that is massively giant and larger than all the others because he is main character. They don't even try to justify this, nor is it possible even launched from their main ship. It didn't exist to be supported by their main ship before he summoned his Kyutama. So it's not even like, oh, I was traveling with this all along and I didn't know it because I am so blind to my own powers thing. But, like, say, hell, I did this better with Cole and Wild Force. Gah! Where was I going with this? So yeah, he summons his giant mech, already knows how to use it, and then Garo, having seen, this idiot fight off, Dark Matter successfully when his entire planet working as one failed. This should be inciting rage in him instead of inspiration. But yeah, he finally uses his own Kyutama, and we get Kyuranger 5, technically 6, because Raptor is already part of the team, and just hasn't shown hers yet. They show up, and they all combine into Kyureno and beat a monster that just went giant, because what's the point of actually planning out a proper story? Ugh. And so they all join the Kyuranger because now they have 5 out of 9, and of course, Lucky says they need to get to fighting this enemy he didn't know about even yesterday. Now, but no, everyone else says we need to find the other 4 members to actually become an effective fighting force. Which is what they're doing next episode. And what they should have been doing next episode on top of this episode. As in, they should not have gotten to Garo until after they'd established Lucky, like what they were originally planning to do. And I'm not kidding about that. There was an interview with, I shouldn't say an interview, there was a statement about original plans where they were going to have the opening arc of the series be collecting all of them. First with Lucky in the first episode, then with Garo in the second, and so on and so forth. Start with 3, then get 4, then get 5, then go on up to all the Kyuranger so they have time to establish all the characters. They fucked it up. They seriously fucked this up with the in one episode. One episode. They made the Red Ranger the single most unlikable character in the show in the exact same ways that had made multiple Sentai before this unlikable and popularly disliked by people because this character archetype shoved himself into the foreground over more interesting characters. I can't even name the number of series where they fucked this up and relatedly had the series do horribly. I can't believe they're still making this exact same mistake after the last few years where they have had diminishing returns on reception and sales because of this exact issue. Kyuranger, I feel, was so much better than this. You saw my half-hour video on Ninja Steel's premiere. They did better than this. Neo Saban, Power Rangers, did better than this. And you saw how much problem I had with their opening. Hell, Dino Charge was better than this. Mega Force's first episode was better than this. Yes, I said that. I said that with a straight face, without laughing or having any that is without insult. That is, Megaforce did this better. How? Nobuhiro Mori, the head writer for the show, he is not this terrible a writer. I mean that. I mean, I've done reviews on stuff he's done before. I reviewed the Yonko Net movies. Those were the best things ever related to any of the Tyson films. The Tyson films are better scripted than this. Oh my god, the Tyson films are better scripted than this. What did you do, Toei? No wait, I can't even blame Toei for this. They're not in charge of this series. TV Asahi is. TV Asahi is the network Super Sentai runs on, and Kamen Rider runs on, and most of Toei's properties runs on. No, the One in charge of the series is Motoi Sasaki. He is a producer with TV Asahi that has been their television liaison for Super Sentai and Kamen Rider since, oh dear God, he's been around since Shinichiro Shirakura got promoted. Go Busters, Kamen Rider Gun, Kyuranger, Toku. Okay, a few episodes of Tokuger, so not married, but mostly the Tyson movies. He's not been an executive producer. This is his first executive producer credit, but he's consistent with terrible. Oh, okay, Super Sentai 199 Kiro Great Paddle, Go Busters got screwed with, Kyuranger was screwed with. I'll get to that in November. Okay, so History of Bad is what I'm getting at, with a few middling interference. Oh, this is... Yeah, I don't think I'll be following this series. I'll give it my customary 5 episodes, but this is seriously the first opening episode for a Sentai series I've ever seen. And I have, at this point, watched at the very least the first episode of all of them, even if several of them are raw, and this will not end well. I can already tell that. It will do well in sales. Mark my words, it'll probably do well in sales because all of the Kyuranger equipment looks just badass. Hell, I'll be getting the Ryu Commander staff if I can get the money together for it, because Purple Dragon, the character has a badass long coat, but I doubt I'll be following the series past episode 5. I'm just warning you guys now. And that's not even getting to Excite this week. And Excite actually had a good episode, because it's continuing the improvement of the series, but actually pacing out its episodes. Again, part of my big issue with the series in its first 12 episodes was it was rushing itself. It was not giving the time needed to address all of its plot points. Either the victim of the week, the greater situation, the ongoing story, but at least now that is all being addressed and all falling into cycle, even with its small cast of characters. First off, Dan is extremely irritated that someone other than him created a Gashot because his megalomania is showing. It pretty much more directly making him out to be the villain with his own agenda and manipulating everyone else, and kind of hitting it a bit faster than, say, Ryoma Sengoku, who is his most recent counterparts, or the more sinister, waiting in the background, Bano for Drive. He's pretty much directly the villain, and we see that with him punishing Sukuru after creating the Juju Burger Gashot by infecting him again with the Bugster virus and manifesting Motors level 5 from him. Motors being the Bugster from the, not Shakuriki Sports, Bakuso Bike Gashot. This simply continues my irritants on how they're recycling the old monster outfits instead of giving something a bit more tangible to the series, with all 10 of the main Gashots having a monster related to them. Admittedly, we had Graphite, which I now realize is more obviously the Dragonite Hunter representative, but we pretty much only had 4, and then the Calabros Bugsters, and thus we're missing a greater sign of a full 10 Bugster platoon, which I believe extending out the original arc could have helped with. But here, Don is pretty much out for vengeance and to get all the other players off of the field. And in this initial distracted encounter, he succeeds in doing that to Taiga and getting his Gashot, so he can finish the Gashot Gear Dual Beta, which is the upcoming shared upgrade form for Brave and Snipe. I don't know why I was forgetting Taiga's rider name. I've actually seen the preview details for information, visuals for Brave level 50, and he looks absolutely perfect. I could not think of a better Well, maybe a few colorization issues, but he's definitely the best looking X-Side writer thus far. And I've kind of spread around the "this shall be your Final Fantasy" meme for him because that pun is terrible, but it is so appropriate. It's funny. So yeah, we're getting story progression on the reasonable upgrades, and instead of it coming out of nowhere. And of course, with Don's irritants at Emu, he is planning to destroy him utterly and entirely, while everyone else is trying to keep him from learning about his own game syndrome. And admittedly, Emu is not so stupid to not realize that they have been hiding a secret from him that ties into all of their stupid actions with regards to how they should be treating him. And I don't mean medically, but as a person. And the easy way to do this would have been to lie, but in a way that confirms the truth without actually saying it. Saying that they become concerned of him because since he didn't have the surgery, he may be having adverse side effects, or he may run the risk of actually becoming infected instead of having an actual immunity, and, white lie. Don't say he's infected, but he may be risking himself to infection, and these may be side effects of his body's resistance breaking down. This actually would provide them a way out of that, but no, they don't do that, because, Kagome does not treat patients as people. He treats them as subjects, and since he is a patient for the CR doctors, he does not treat Emu as a person. This is such obviously the easy way to deal with this instead of, attacking him out of the blue with no way to understand that. And of course, it backfires in their damn faces. I understand that this was intentionally what they were doing to get to that revelation, but I'm saying that you could have done this in a way that didn't compromise the characters and make Emu not look like an idiot for, not realizing that they're walking around eggshells with him and all these odd events are tied to him. Feed into it without explicitly saying it. That would not, ways that would not stress him out, but make them know they're concerned and worried for him. This may have, in fact, led into a more subtle realization and, a way to remedy this without actually having him potentially, die from the massive amounts of stress that would instantly come from this. You had options, and you chose to be lazy. I'm not trying to be angry at X-Side, because it's actually a well-executed, well-plotted episode, but it's just my general irritances with the execution of this story's arc, you should say, and my general irritants with how the characters have been played with in the story. So yeah, Don gets back to calling them out, and after, of course, an exchange with Parad, where he pretty much reveals his megalomania to his collaborator, which results in him turning on them. And admittedly, it's all perfectly in character with how damn angry Don has been with the whole people other than him creating gashouts, that it's like, it seems more like he's reached his breaking point and he just doesn't care about keeping this secret anymore, and who's going to stop him? He is a god! He is immortal! He is being shoryukened in the face by his collaborator, who is actually stronger than him because he is level 50 versus his own level 10. Genom finally getting his ass kicked despite being the immortal zombie was so satisfying. It was like it was like Christmas and New Year's all, no, not Christmas and New Year's, Christmas and a birthday all wrapped into the same. Actually, that's terrible, because if Christmas and birthday are the same day, then then people are just buying you a combined birthday and Christmas gift. So I'm saying why my own analogy doesn't work. But yes, it was really, really satisfying to see him finally beaten down after 18 episodes. Of course, because Genom is a literal monster at this point. And, well, not literal, but I'm using literal in the wrong context. I should stop doing that. He's metaphorically a monster right now, in that in revenge, since Parad wants to defeat Exide by the rules, because apparently Bugsters all obey the rules, as without the rules they can potentially win the game and be rewarded with life. This is actually a new detail in the series that actually makes sense, all things considered, since as we saw last week with Burgermon, he was a benignly created bugster that didn't require his host to be subsumed to become a real boy. He managed that after they cured Sukuru's game syndrome completely independently. So this is probably also tied to Asuna's, because I don't like saying her actual name, appearance as another different benign bugster, and may explain how she's there without having a human host to help manifest her, or her manifestation came without causing the stress and death of her host. Again, Asuna kind of needs that detail for her character. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, he's, Dan gets under Parad's skin by actually killing Emu. How? Telling him he has game syndrome. Now, they've been lampshading this for several episodes, but this still seems stupid to me, as why would learning you're sick be a stressing agent when he's been using that sickness to help people? Like, it's literally the only reason he can function as a writer, so it's not like it's been hurting him, bar his use of the Mighty Brothers Gashot stressing his body, because it's rapid cloning him. So, I still don't feel that's consistent with how Emu's game syndrome has been presented, where his other side shows up not because he's stressed, but because he's in a situation where his meeker self isn't needed, or the stress brings out a persona that matches how he used to act, so the actual bugster that is being suppressed. So I feel like there's an inconsistency where the Genius Gamer M personality was him, and the newer meeker personality isn't him. So shouldn't the meek personality be the bugster that actually in control, and thus the game syndrome isn't consistent with other uses, so this revelation shouldn't have this result in freakouts? I don't know, it still bugs me, but we'll at least learn more next week when the Genius Gamer N personality fully takes over. So who knows how they're going with that. Maybe they're actually going to heed what I've been saying all along, and he actually ends up cured of his game syndrome and thus reverts to the all games all the time dude, since gaming was his relaxant. I don't know. This one's going to be long. Zero. I actually don't have much to say about Zero this week. It was more about properly introducing Kagome, played by Yuria Haga. Now, I admittedly didn't like Yuria's last character of, I'm forgetting her name, because I haven't watched Kamen Fies in a while now. Not Kana, not, Mari. Why did I forget that? I didn't much like Mari until the late end of Thighs, but it's still nice to see her. I've been saying that the last few times, and she's kind of acting like Mari here. Admittedly, she has good reasons to be acting obstinate to others here, because she and her brother broke up the Dragon Knight, but it is kind of showing that she's trying to make up for this, even if it's, by trying to kill Alice. So yeah, she comes in and attacks Alice, which is prevented by Ray. And a nice scene that shows off her own capability, in that she's not a very strong Makai priest because she lacks the magical energy in herself to be able to sustain stronger spells, but what she knows is actually very effective. She knows this kind of cool barrier spell that it kind of reminds me of Dune, the movie version, where they have the detective from Twin Peaks versus Captain Picard in these kind of CGI box suits as the protecting armor, and it kind of reminds me of that, of the effect they were doing with that. Although Ray beats her down before Rekka intervenes to stop the fight and announce that this is someone she's been looking for. Kind of obligatory, but then she starts sucking up to them, even though she just tried to kill one of their companions. And I don't think she ever apologizes for that. Knowing, of course, Ray's reputation and Rekka having gotten pretty damn famous before even her promotion. And, of course, she tells her backstory of the two kids becoming priests together and a very formidable tag team against horrors, which multiple priests are kind of needed to take down a horror, as they're not kind knights, but I still feel a knight-priest pair is the best way to deal with them long-term. Anyways, she explains how they accidentally found the knight and woke him up because they ended up researching him and were curious, and despite Kagome knowing of him turning against humanity, her brother thought that he was still a protector and they just needed to talk him into helping, and obviously that did not work. So in penance, she's trying to prevent the egg from the Dragon Knight from reaching his full power to wreak devastation, and that's why she tried to kill Alice, because obviously a civilian is not going to be that helpful in this. Unfortunately, what she ends up doing is really, really damn stupid. She affects a charmed bracelet that Rekka prepared for her that would act as a protectant and deterrent against horror attacks or being scryed by magic other than ones that can find the ones they're tied to that can detect the pendant. Unfortunately, Kagome fucked that up and placed a tracking spell on her to lead the Dragon Knight right to her to actually find him, defeat him, and or get led back to the egg, which is now Plan B for all of them, instead of just keeping her out of harm's way until they find the knight. I'm betting with how the series is only scripted to run for about 12 episodes, as far as I'm aware, that they're already trying to enter the end game like previous Garo series have done, where their last 6 or so episodes are just one long series of events leading to their final battle. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm just disappointed they're likely not going to have many filler episodes, because the ones we've got aren't actually that good, unfortunately. Trying to think of any other details to this one. I like how Kagome recognizes she screwed up big in subverting behind the others' backs the long-term plan, which would have actually been more successful in that the Dragon Knight had to stay around for him to get the egg unsealed, so it would only be a matter of time of them tracking him down, if they could keep Alice safe from them. Instead, they just subverted that entirely straight out of the gate. It makes sense for avoiding the stagnation issues of past Garo series, where the status quo of random horror hunting takes over, but it's kind of unfortunate that they're skipping that.
because it makes them seem like foolish for blindly trusting someone so, I don't want to say traumatized, but personally affected by this. Like, it's almost a traitor in their midst kind of situation where they don't have the time to deal with it, but it's something that should be dealt with so it doesn't happen again, I guess. Still, decent episode, and X-Side, I think, was strongest this week, all things considered. I don't know why, but Zero's not really doing it for me. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just the cast, maybe it's the rushed pace of everything, maybe it's the even more uneven progression of the overall story arc. I don't know, something's just off with this series. Updates. I guess why I feel a bit more critical about the screw-ups, some of the screw-ups lately is I've been rewatching Double. I'm doing Double this year, if you've not seen it in my details from other stuff, and it's like, my biggest issues are some of the jokes there. It's like, it's so much better plotted out story-wise, and that's because it paces itself. It doesn't just slam you with everything at once, it seeds it over time, and I've not seen that from Kamen Rider series since Wizard. And keep in mind, Wizard is the show that, in its 8th episode, gave its main character his first of many upgrade forms. So, it's like, even it wasn't that even with it. They're all trying to be Gaim in its 4-act structure, where you introduce a bunch of things in the early episodes, and then you get to your main story. But they forget that those early episodes were to establish all of these important people, details, and things that are followed up on. They haven't really following up on. Even admittedly, Drive was the strongest of these last few years, where that its rushed but spinning its wheels approach did all lead to things that were followed up on. But you can tell even there that they were trying more to be Gaim than Double, and I feel Double is more of the model they should have been following with some of this stuff. Nothing other major. Proper season for me is starting in the next few weeks, so I'm kind of keeping pace and everything. Still grinding for Gar Armor in Final Fantasy XIV. I am on the Sargatana server, Sargatanas. I think that's how it's spelled. If anyone wants to look me up and join me for that, you are free to. I'll be on all day Friday. See y'all.